Harrisburg Stampede. Justin Coble with
I gotta change the freaking.
Oh, there it is.
Basically, they were
It's
playing
Major
Major League with a real game. Yeah.
Oh shit! There's the Hattie.
All right, and the sound of the organ means we are back for the second half of this episode. David, have at it.
Is the NHL All-Star Game being replaced with Four Nations? I would be okay with this.
I would say
I would miss some of the skills competition, like the hardest slap shot, the accuracy, the traditional ones. But on the other hand, international play. Just saying.
that isn't to say that there isn't a place for the skills competition, because the skills competition, much like comparatively, I would say the NBA skills competition is always entertaining to watch. However, I've never seen anything draw this kind of buzz, hockey related wise, like this Four Nations has.
Oh yeah.
This literally captivated people. People who weren't even hockey fans were posting about this online. So it says a lot about that. But here's my concern. So let's say every year you do this, you do the Four Nations. What happens come Olympics time?
Well, maybe it's just something in between.
Because pros do play in the Olympics. So does this dilute the importance of the Olympics?
Or just maybe switch it. Maybe do it every other year. Or do it the year of the Olympics, or do it where the Olympics, just don't do it the Four Nations when the Olympics are going.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Oh yeah. But no, yeah, this Four Nations definitely set off a lot of people to being huge fans. And well, when it's U.S. Canada in the first 9 seconds, there's 3 fights.
That was a hell of a beginning to a game.
Yeah, and it's just, it really, really set the tone for what this is. But yeah, I mean, it's like what happens during the Olympics and all that. I mean,
and here's another comparison. Just throwing this out there. It's almost kind of like the baseball or the hockey version of the World Baseball Classic to some degree.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did other versions of the World Cup for hockey. And
which there's nothing wrong with representing your country for your sport, and I think that's absolutely an honor for anyone in any country. How it can impact the actual league, though, is where I think it could be made or broken. Because you don't want to see named players come out with an injury because of this Four Nations, though, either.
Well, that has happened. Not Brady, the other brother. I'm drawing a blank here. Matthew Tkachuk. He is out, I believe, for the rest of the season from the Four Nations. I mean, he may come back, but before the end of the season. But he got injured during the Four Nations. So, but then again, though, you can get injured during an All-Star game.
Right, but are you playing with the same intensity in an All-Star game as you are?
No, you're not. No, you're absolutely not. You're absolutely not playing with that same intensity as you would be for the Four Nations.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people loved about it, is that you're playing for something. You're playing for your nation. You're playing, I mean, I know after the end of the Four Nations, all I heard for like a week was PK Subban going off on the NBA on their All-Star.
Yeah, their All-Star game's a joke now.
Yeah.
And what's sad is that was one of the ones that back in the day was highly regarded, because you had guys and again, I'm dating myself here, but you had guys like Jordan and Bird and Magic, and even like later years when you had guys like Shaq and Kobe, like they still played hard in those games. Now it's a joke. No one's
Yeah,
playing hard.
no. And so, that's why I feel like doing something like the Four Nations, it brings more fans into it, and would bring more to the game to doing something like this. But like you
I
said, the
don't disagree. I was just
injuries
playing
during the
devil's advocate.
yeah, no, I'm not play devil's advocate. I mean, that's fine with me. But
Um,
I just feel the Four Nations would bring more. I just feel it introduced more fans to the game,
well, and
or
hockey's
to be
needed that.
fans. Hockey's always needed that because it's not as popular as what baseball is, or football. It's not.
Well, to be fair, the NFL has marketing down to a pat.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
reason why it's the top sport in America, for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to get on my high horse about.
for now.
No, I'm not, because I'm just going to keep my opinions to myself this time. Because
For now.
how dare you say negative things about the NFL and professional football? Um, but look, baseball is my sport. We all know this, but the reason why I will defend hockey is for a lot of the same reasons I will defend baseball. I love that both sports care as much as they do about the history of the sport and care about the traditions of the sport. Even when the sports change and adapt, there's still very much a tie to the history of the sport. And that is why I always want to see the NHL succeed, because I'm appreciative of that aspect of the NHL and the sport of hockey and the people involved with it. I've always
It's the
felt
culture.
I've always felt, and you know this. This is nothing new. What I'm going to say here. I've always felt hockey players have been criminally underpaid. There's absolutely no reason why some of these guys in this sport don't deserve more money than they get. I understand that the career of a football player is short, but the physicality needed in hockey is on such a different level. And look,
Well,
I
not
know
just
that a lot of these
physicality.
I know that a lot of these guys are very well off in life. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying when you come down to the nuts and bolts of it, I wouldn't want to get hit by a hockey player on skates coming at me at 30 to 40 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
I get it.
the
Oh,
eye
I get
test
it.
tells me that this is going to hurt a lot more than the 400-pound lineman who's coming at me at like 10 miles an hour. It might hurt for a little bit, but the other one's going to hurt a lot longer.
Yeah, the other one's like getting hit by a car. You're not jumping him.
But what I'm saying is the, the physicality of the sport is such that these guys deserve more money. I've always said that, you know that. And I've always felt that the sport deserves more eyes on it, because hockey's a fun game to watch even on TV. It's more fun when you're in person, but it's a fun game to watch even on TV. And it just doesn't get the attention that it deserves. And some of that, I'm going to say, falls on the quote unquote leader of sports broadcasting, ESPN, because ESPN is a fickle bitch, and they will give attention to whose league they have rights to air. As soon as I saw that ESPN was no longer covering MLB, I'm like, well, MLB's not going to be talked about on ESPN for the next 5 to 6 years, because they didn't want to pay whatever for Sunday Night Baseball. That's fine, because they're going to treat baseball just like they did the NHL when the NHL went to Versus.
Yeah.
That's just the truth of the matter of ESPN.
Yeah.
Am I
You
wrong?
love
Am
ESPN.
I
No, you're
wrong?
not wrong. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, because once the NHL went to Versus, you never heard and of anything. I think that actually killed the NHL for the longest time, because who had Versus? Who had the Outdoor Channel? Who had that? Nobody did.
At what time of night was Barry Melrose talking about the NHL on ESPN? At like 2 in the morning. That's where they relegated NHL Tonight, was at 2 in the morning. So they
I
knew
missed
what
that
they were
ringtone I
doing.
had.
I mean, I still associate that theme with you because that was the ringtone for you on my phone. Oh, David's calling. Why do I suddenly want to Labatt and want to play hockey games? Oh, speaking of Labatt,
Oh God.
did I tell you about this? I may not have. Okay. So last Labor Day, we went to Dave and Hannah's, and Dave and I and his father-in-law Bill went to Nelson's. Dave wanted to get a case of beer, right? And Dave's father-in-law Bill saw this case of Labatt Apple, a 30
Ugh.
pack, reduced down to $11. It was on sale for $10.99.
Jeez.
Should have been the first red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, just Labatt and Apple just kind of that
Well,
should
hold
be
on.
that should have been the first one.
Hold on. So we're like, oh, that's a hell of a
Oh,
deal. Because, I mean, theoretically, a 30 pack for $10.99 is a hell of a deal.
yeah.
We got it, and the lady behind the counter looked at us like we were weird. That should have been red flag number 2.
Okay. Yes, that should have been. Yeah, that should have been like Mayday, Mayday, Mayday,
we, get,
Mayday.
we get back to Dave's, thinking we had the score of scores. And Dave hands us a can. Didn't even put it in the fridge, just handed us a can. The three of us took a sip, and there was about 30 seconds to a minute of silence as we all looked at each other and were deciding on how we wanted to express what we were tasting at that moment in time. So,
Without throwing up.
the reason I'm telling this story is last weekend was Dave's son's birthday. And obviously, I was at the party. Dave still has 9 cans left. And and out of courtesy, Bill and I have been drinking a can or two every time we've been over there because we were with him when he bought it.
Oh.
Dave,
Uh,
it might literally be the worst beer I've ever drank in my life.
yeah, that I would say that's
You when you open it up and you take that first sip, there's a nice little hint of apple, and then it's just asshole after that.
I mean, the only apple drink I've had was that Angry Orchard.
Well, that's a legitimate hard cider, so that should taste
So
like apple and be good.
it was really good.
Oh yeah, Angry Orchard's very good.
It's very dangerous because you can drink it and not realize how much you drank and how fast you drank it.
I know, dude, I enjoy Angry Orchard.
Oh,
It's
so
so
do I.
good. Even though your brother gave me shit for drinking it when we went to the ball game.
He gives me shit for everything.
Oh, he's the only person that I drank a Corona for. I am not a Corona person, but he paid for it, and that's the right thing to do. But man, that was like, I'd rather drink a Labatt Apple than drink a Corona.
Ooh, that's Jason. Come on, man. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. We're
Oh,
deviating. I'm sorry.
shocking. We never deviate.
No. I think it was clearly a home run. The Four Nations was clearly a home run. People were talking about it, and people were getting fired up about it. And there's obvious reasons why people were getting fired up about it that I'm not going to get into because that's not what this show's about. But people were engaged and they were active on social media about it. And as good and bad as social media is a really good barometer for what people are viewing and participating in. Pardon me. I think maybe you're right. I think either do it on a every other year basis or do it every year but the year of the Olympics. Because I don't think you want to dilute the waters of the Olympics because that's still a very important thing in the world of sports.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
think with the Four Nations, I mean, even people, I feel the Four Nations brought more fans to the game, and also it kind of shows, like even PK said it, it's the culture of the sport.
yeah,
It's not just you're playing for yourself like anything else. It's the culture of the sport. You got to be willing to fight for the guy next to you,
right.
and where do you see that in any other sport? You know, hockey just seems to be one of those things to where you just tap somebody wrong, and next thing you know, you got a team on your rear end about it.
I mean, I'll defend baseball. You do see benches clearing brawls where guys will get into the scrum just because they're supporting their teammates.
Yeah,
Not in the
but
same way as hockey. I'm not saying it's the same as hockey, but I feel like, but that's a culture thing. I think that goes back to having pride in your team and your teammates, and that's something you can't teach. You can't
no,
teach the attitude of it's the team over the individual.
I mean Ovechkin got, he could have got an empty net to get closer to the record, but he decided to pass the puck to a player for his first hat trick.
Right.
So it's the team culture,
Right.
you know.
And I know this is gonna for sure piss off one listener who I'm friends with. I just feel like that's something that, and I'm not doing this to take a pot shot at the NBA. I'm just saying I feel like that's something that's missing currently in modern NBA is the
Toughness.
team first aspect. I think it's still very much an individual based game that just happens to have individual players on teams.
I mean,
Um,
I'd say toughness too.
well, but that goes to the game becoming a more finesse based game than the game we grew up watching in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s is how I would put it. But hockey's the same. Hockey's still a tough game, but we even talk about that. It's a more European finesse style game than it was.
It is. It is, but it's still that, it still brings people to the feet when you get that open ice hit that looked like the person
Let
just
me
hit a
tell
brick
you,
wall.
nothing in sports compares to seeing an open ice hit.
No.
And
No.
I'm saying that as a diehard baseball fan. And one of my favorite things in baseball is to see someone steal home. One, it's rare. Two, it's ballsy as hell when you do it. But uh, watching an open ice hit is a totally different experience as a viewer and fan because that is a legitimate, like you're watching a car crash and you're not
Yeah.
turning away.
And when that hits, it's it's literally the person getting hit is like hitting a brick wall.
Bombshell
It's
by Power Man 5000 just popped into my head thanks to this conversation.
I've not heard that song in ages.
Not since we played hits.
Pretty much. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah, an open ice hit. I mean, and the fact that even like going back to the Four Nations, how they were playing like it was an actual like for like a reason to play for.
Yeah, it felt like it was all or nothing.
Yeah, not just like an all-star game, where it's 3-on-3 or something. It's full blown balls to the wall, let it all out there hockey.
No, let me ask you this before we wrap this up, because I know we're getting pretty long in the tooth here. That Canada versus US game,
Which one?
the one with the fights.
Okay.
All right. How do you think that's going to be remembered in hockey lore? Like, is it,
As a fantastic game between two rivals.
I'm saying because you go back to 84 and what was it? Oh, it was the Canucks and the Nordiques, and it was they had what, 3 or 4 fights throughout the night. I can't think of the name of it now. We even did we did a watch along of it, of just the fights.
Was it the massacre?
It was the
No.
massacre, but it had a specific name. Was it the Black Friday massacre or the Easter massacre or something like that? Either
Yeah,
way,
so I forget which one. I forget which one it
but
was.
but do you think that game will go down in hockey lore similar to one of those types of games where
No,
you don't?
not like a not as a massacre
No,
because
no, I didn't mean
of
like a massacre, but do you think it's going to be one of those games that people years from now talk about because of how impactful that moment was?
they could refer to it, but I don't think it's going to be like a detrimental like it has its own name like the Easter, like the Black Friday massacre or the Good Friday massacre or something like that. I don't think it's going to have a name
Good
attached to
Friday
it.
massacre is what it was, yeah.
I just feel like it's going to be. Did you see the Canada US game at Four Nations? Man, that was a hell of a game. The
Gotcha.
fights, the action. I feel it would come down to that as something that would bring the attention. Like, hey, you got to watch this game. It was so fun to watch. It was really action packed, and yeah, I think it would be
Okay.
known as that. I think it would be known more of that aspect.
I defer to you because you are the hockey subject matter expert on this show. So,
Really.
yeah, really. I'm talking you up here.
I need a beer.
Well,
I wish that was a
eggs and
beer.
eggs in 2 days. Um,
Green eggs and ham.
but I don't know.
So
If you're on our Facebook group, drop us a line and tell us what you think about this. Do you think the Four Nations is here to stay, or do you think you want the All-Star game and the skills competition back? Let
like I said,
us know.
I like the skills competition to a point.
I like the skills competition.
When I say to a point, I mean I wish it was like the old school way of doing things, not the modern technology way of doing things. Like where what was it? The accuracy shooting was like okay, yeah, you had to hit the disc, but you hit the disc and it didn't light up. Does it still count? Because it
Gotcha.
lit up. It had to light up. Where the old targets, you knew you hit it.
Right.
You knew you hit the damn thing. You know. So yeah, yeah. No,
No,
let us know. Go on Facebook. Let us know. So I'm good if you're good.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't really have anything else. Make sure you check out our friends, the Rural Blaze Banner podcast and the Other Ship. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts. We just mentioned it here. We do have the NASPOD MVPs private group on Facebook. You have to ask to join. But if you listen to the show and you like what we do, please come into the group and engage. There's people posting stuff on a regular basis. Kevin Dignam, or as I know him, Diggy, he posts a lot of bowling stuff because he is a competitive bowler. I don't think a lot of people know that. He's actually bowled at the Nationals in Vegas a few times in the last couple of years. Very good, very good amateur bowler. So that's why he shares a lot of bowling stuff. That's his forte sports wise.
Not
But we've
all
had some
that.
good discussions over there about different things. So please, come on in and join us and have a good time sharing some sports stuff, some memes, videos, discussions. Baseball season's ramping up, so there'll probably be a lot of baseball stuff in there for the next 6 months. Just making you all aware, because I know there's a lot of passionate baseball fans in the group. Um, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and so on. If you use it, we're on there. I can guarantee it. And if you actually take me up on that guarantee, I have no way of giving you residuals if we're not where you get your podcasts. So I'm sorry, you're SOL. Um, Jeez. Well, you're not supposed to make guarantees if you can't back them up, and I made a guarantee, but I can't back it up. So, but
Well, there you go.
where I would say we're probably on 90% of whatever platforms there is. If I've never heard of it, I can't put us on there. Is how I would put it. Um, well, you're not on twiddlydinkaudio.com. Well, I'm sorry, I
Twiddly
never heard of
dink.
twiddlydinkaudio.com.
Twiddly dink.
That's just the first thing that came to my head. Someone's going to trademark that now, and there's going to be a twiddlydinkaudio.com because some random person listened to this. Um,
Maybe, yeah, we should get, yeah. How about royalties then?
yeah, yeah. In the description of every show is our Linktree link. You can go there, go to all of our different social media accounts, our T Public store. That's where this, well, it's in our background too, is our USFL logo. I love this logo. I love how I say it all the time. You put just a phenomenal amount of work into this, and it reflects in how good the logo looks because it looks exactly like the USFL logo, and I just think it's great. Um, but with that, my name's Jason,
David.
and we'll talk with you next time.
Good morning.